when the history of America's long, devastating opioid crisis is finally written, 2022 may be remembered a low point. The CDC announced in late 2022 that life expectancy in the U.S. has dropped to its lowest point in 2 decades. A staggering 110,236 people died from drug overdoses. The DEA seized far greater quantities of illicit fentanyl than ever in 2022. Number 1 killer in America, heart disease. Number 4, accidental death. Number 5, stroke. Alcohol and cocaine are huge factors in many of those deaths. Millions of people who could be here right now. Stay tuned to hear about a solution. The results have been validated in a 5-year study by a third party, offering a record-breaking success rate in helping people get their lives back. As seen on TV, on national shows. And now, your host.
Hey everybody, I'm Forbes Riley and welcome. I'm hosting a show today that I think is going to be the most important show I've ever done. There's a problem facing this country and it affects all of us whether you know it or not. I recently just lost a friend of mine that I grew up with. I didn't even know there was a problem. It's called addiction. Yeah, it's kind of a silent killer until it affects you, your family, your friends, and you want to know about this before it's too late. I've got 2 very special guests that I want you to meet who are doing something about it. There's an old way that really isn't working, and then there's the Elevate way. Please join me in meeting Angie and Dan Manson. Guys, I'm so excited that you are both here because you're on a mission, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Dan, why did you get involved in addiction recovery?
You know, I just felt that too many young people were going down that road. It used to be that you smoke a little pot, you drink a little bit, and then you go on with your life. Now, younger people, ages 14, 16, are getting hooked on hard, serious drugs. And these guys are destroying their lives before they can even get started.
Now, you have a pretty compelling story, too.
I started drinking and using at a really young age, Forbes. I was 11 years old.
Wait. 11 years old?
Yeah.
Did your parents know what you were doing?
No, my mom, it was a single mom. She had me very young. She was working 2 jobs. So I was a latchkey kid. When you're starting that young, your brain is forming. It becomes very habitual very early on. You start to realize, oh, this is kind of fun, makes me feel good. And then before I knew it, I was progressing into much harder drugs. And I was in my first rehab by 16, and I was arrested 7 times as a juvenile. And I continued on that path, ended up with some not great crowds. And by the time I was 21, I was facing 10 years in prison.
So it's interesting that you got to recovery, but one of the things that you both have discovered, and you have a new book coming out that we're going to talk about in a little bit, is that not all recovery treatments are the same.
Right.
Some are more effective than others. Mm-hmm. So you guys met at a program and you discovered that it wasn't quite enough?
I mean, for me, that program was the one that saved my life. There was a lot to it that I liked because it did not let me be the victim of what had happened to me that led up to it. It pushed me towards accountability and responsibility, which I felt was necessary, and it empowered me. And so there was parts of that program that we absolutely loved that we knew we wanted to bring into the next program.
So Dan,
even better.
Well, because you wrote a book about this, and I think it's interesting. There is an old way of doing this that you don't think works effectively, do you?
What I think parents don't know, and what I talked about in my book, is that their kid may be 19 years old, and he goes into treatment for heroin. Okay. So he goes into the program, and within a week, he's off the heroin, but he's on 7 different pharmaceuticals.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So we got one for his anxiety, one for his depression, one for sleep, one to keep him awake, all these different things. And they're like, manage his cravings and things like that. Well, those drugs end up masking the issues. So when they're going through whatever their meetings are and going through their treatment, or they have a sponsor and they're working with somebody, you're highly medicated. And that's hard. It's hard to really dive into your trauma and get to the root of cause of your issues if you're medicated.
So you guys have created, you have a facility. I mean, and you have more than facilities.
Multiple.
They're all over the country, and you are expanding and continuing to grow. It's called Elevate. Mm-hmm. And you focus on what at Elevate that's so radically different.
I think it's important that people understand that if you've gone to rehab or your kid has gone to rehab, it doesn't mean that they've done Elevate. See, we have all these different things that we do with people: cognitive behavioral therapy, individual counseling. We have a whole educational curriculum that we design so that the client who's going through the program understands for themselves what happened. See, it's so much more meaningful when someone discovers for themselves what went wrong, rather than me saying, oh, Forbes, you know what your problem is? When you were 12 years old, you stole your mom's car or whatever it was, that's your problem, right? That doesn't mean anything to you. Now, when they say to themselves, oh, actually, it was when I did this, oh my goodness, that means a lot to them.
The great thing about you is I looked at the statistics of most rehab clinics. Yours are people don't come back.
Right.
They don't need to. Isn't that the goal?
That is a good thing. And that is not how a lot of rehabs build their model. They want return customers. For us, we don't want a return customer. Of course, we'll take you back if you need our help, but our goal is that you don't ever need our help again.
I love this.
Yeah.
We're sending out happy, healthy people who can function in a world that is by nature dysfunctional anyway.
Right.
None of us have it easy.
Right.
But I assume that once you've got that addictive personality or you're hooked on something, it's not necessarily your fault, but not only are you suffering, your family's suffering.
Right.
No, I want you to talk to somebody out there who's suffering right now like you were and wishes that you would have had someone like you to talk to them.
I would say call for help. Even if we can't help you, we are going to ensure that you find the help that is appropriate for you. We'll work with you. We'll work with your families. That's our goal, is to impact and save the world in whatever way we can, either through ourselves or through other people.
And so what is life like after recovery?
See, and this is the big differentiator, I think. So for a lot of people, when they get sober, we call either white knuckling it or dry drunks. It's like they're sober, but their life is not quality. And for me, I was in those meetings listening to these people who had so much sobriety and they were not happy people. They were miserable. Our goal is that getting sober is one part of it, but going on and living a happy, fun, productive life, that's the goal. Life after using is where we want to go.
Now, I want you, Dan, to look at the camera and talk to the mom and dad whose kid they don't know what to do.
If your child has gone to rehab before, or they're struggling and they don't want to go, maybe they don't want to be called powerless, or they don't want to be called an addict, or they don't want to be told they have disorders. Well, we don't believe any of that at Elevate. We're not going to call them an addict. We're not going to give them a label. We're going to empower them to be the person that they were always meant to be.
At the end of the day, why is this so important for both of you?
For me, we could be having the toughest week. We're not dealing with well people. We're not dealing in a system that's great. But if you go to a graduation and you hear a client, tears in their eyes, thanking you for giving them their life back, you hear a parent crying, saying, thank you for saving our family. There is nothing better in this world that we should be doing than to do more of that and help more people.
So one of the reasons that I'm so empowered, and I told you this was a really important show, is take a listen to this. You want to hear and feel and experience what life is like on the other side from people who've experienced it.
Thank you to EAS, the staff, and all the clients.
I owe my life to this place. This place is amazing.
My 5 boys, they got their mom back.
Thank you so much for allowing me to show Addiction Who's Boss, and I'm dead set on showing everyone how great this life is.
With hard work and determination, I can accomplish goals and live a successful life.
About 100 days sober now, and a lot more to come, and I just want to thank y'all for that.
Gains in the mind and the body.
Addiction affects everybody. There's no age limit, there's no economic limit. And when you see what we just witnessed, how do you feel?
Oh, so proud. And I'm so happy for them because they did it for themselves. They believed in themselves and chose to choose life.
And so this is available. You guys are expanding around the country. Mm-hmm. It's easy to find you guys. Angie, what message is so important for you right now to say to everybody?
Well, for me, it's saving lives. I obviously overcame my own addiction, so I have a passion for wanting to help others overcome their addiction. Friday night graduation, seeing people get their lives back, knowing they have their whole lives ahead of them, knowing that families have their loved ones back. I cry every single Friday night. And I've always said to myself, the day that you stop crying over these things is the day you should probably retire. And 28 years later, that still hasn't happened yet.
When somebody calls you, what happens?
We're a real person on the end. We're not just selling, Elevate. But what we're going to do is we're going to listen to that person. We're going to hear their story. We're going to understand what's going on. And we're going to have a compassionate conversation with them. And then we're going to make sure that they have the right next step, whether it's us or somebody else. And I'll tell you what, most rehabs do not do that.
You guys have changed my life. Listening to the stories of what people have gone through, I'm so incredibly moved. I want you guys to listen to a young woman named Alyssa. Her story is that what? She had tried rehabs before. She
Yes.
was young when this all happened.
Right. 21 years old. Elevate was her third rehab.
And her last.
Yes, that's right.
All right. Take a listen.
Manipulated my parents into picking me up. After about a month, I relapsed on pills. Then I started dating my dealer. That relationship lasted about 2 years, roughly. You know, I wasn't clear on what I was sharing with him, and he took it and he overdosed in my hotel room. I was so afraid to call 911 because I was scared of getting in trouble myself, but I ended up calling 911 and that saved his life. Finally decided to leave that relationship about 3-4 days before checking into Elevate, 4th Rehab Center, and I finally got it. Yes, they do help you get off of drugs, but it's more of getting to the root cause of what makes you want to use. I don't know what my life would look like if I hadn't been through all of this, because I've learned so much.
You know, when I look at that, all I can think about is my kids and their friends and, wow, on the street.
Right.
Yeah. At 21, can you imagine your 21-year-old daughter on the streets hooking up with her, dealer?
When she said that that's who she was dating for 2 years, my heart literally stopped.
Yeah.
So what was so different about her experience at Elevate that just got her clean and got her that happy?
She wasn't just told she was an addict for life, and she wasn't told she was powerless, and she wasn't told that this is what her life was about and she just had to manage it. She was given the tools to change her life. I think another thing that's different about Elevate is that when our clients come to the program, we don't treat them like they're broken, right?
Wow,
All these people.
wow, okay, that's a big thing. Say that again, because I hear that even in just regular therapies.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't treat people like they're broken. So everyone's had problems, everyone's had struggles. Who hasn't made mistakes?
Right.
So we just treat these people like they've made some mistakes and they need to better their life.
So I'm looking at Connor.
So with Connor, his story that he told us was that he went to 3 rehabs. Elevate was the 3rd. Yeah. After his 2nd rehab, when he came home, within 10 minutes of being home, he was high.
So apparently the rehab didn't work.
Well, it didn't work, or it didn't resonate with him. Something happened that he didn't put those two things together. As soon as he had the opportunity to use, he used. So He did rehab, but what changed within him?
I'd been in and out of treatments already, prior to finding Elevate, and was definitely struggling with abusing drugs and mainly fentanyl. After the first time I came here, I really did see a lot of change. What I think is great about the Elevate philosophy, just the phrases that they use here are really helpful, because it doesn't leave you wiggle room to make up excuses. It's the decisions that you're making, that you have responsibility for, what you do and what the repercussions of your actions are. You are powerful, you have responsibility, you get to make a decision, is very liberating for somebody who's struggled with drug addiction for that long.
Do you handle alcoholics as well?
It's an interesting thing, and I didn't realize this but when we were doing our outcome studies, over 50% of the people that come to us are here for alcohol. I mean, we even have people, Forbes, coming in 19 years old, that they are on such high amounts of alcohol that they literally hallucinate for weeks after they come off of it, even with medication. To that extreme. That's how much even kids are taking this.
Wow.
But yeah, you'll have kids at 20 years old who are drinking massive amounts of hard alcohol, and that they could die if they just stop. So we have to detox them medically.
If you or a loved one are struggling with an addiction issue, the place to call is Elevate. It's a new method of treating people using a modern, scientific, and copyrighted approach.
Ultimately, it was the best thing I could have ever done.
Our program has highly successful results, verified by a third-party outcome study. Every day, people are getting their life back. Dial pound 250 on your cell and use the keyword free book now.
The fitness regime here and the incorporation of daily exercise, I could say it changed my life.
A holistic residential program, followed by outpatient services and follow-up to keep you doing well. No one will judge you at Elevate. We are here to empower you.
Things do get better because they see that we're living it, and that it's possible.
It takes a lot to ask for help. We know. Even if you've tried rehab, you have never experienced Elevate.
Never give up. Never lose hope. Keep looking. Even if you had failed attempts at other places, I would say never give up on your loved ones.
Dial pound 250 on your cell and use the keyword free book, and you will be connected to one of our friendly staff who will send you your free book.
So we met Jordan, who's a really good example of someone who went through your program on the other side, is now not drinking.
That's right.
And loving life.
Yes.
All right, let's take a listen.
The week prior, 4th of July, we were camping and my daughter was in my arms and we were sleeping in the tent, and I just like leaned in and whispered to her, I was like, Daddy's gonna stay sober and like we're gonna do this right, bud. Next week I'm in jail and I'm just thinking about everything I potentially just lost. As far as like my life here, my girlfriend who I do intend to marry someday, my kid. I said if I get out of here with it, like, and I got out the next day. I called Elevate. They had a bed open. I was on a plane. That was Monday. I was on a plane Wednesday and Elevate Wednesday night. It's a lot more psychological and understanding yourself rather than, oh, demon alcohol.
You know what I love is that he's doing it for someone else.
Right.
And that's probably a really good motivator, because can you imagine looking at your 2-year-old daughter or spending 10 years in jail and going, oh, I just couldn't. You know, as we're talking about alcohol, and this has affected me personally. One of my very dear friends just got a DUI. She thought she was at a party. I had one drink, not a big deal. When she blew, boom. You know what she didn't do? She didn't kill anybody. She didn't get into a car accident. She didn't destroy her body or someone else's life. And so it's really important that we're very aware that this is a problem. Now, you've got somebody who, she dealt with alcoholism, right?
Yes, absolutely. A young lady.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, and she was this close to death. Her blood alcohol content was so high. It's amazing she's alive. She didn't wreck her car. She didn't run over a family or anything like that.
And I'm going to tell you something. Your life can change in a heartbeat. Whether it is you doing that thing, oh, it's just a drink, or you get hit by somebody, you lose a family member because somebody couldn't control their addiction. I mean, this is something we've got to be really, really aware of. And Elevate is a phenomenal solution. You want to talk about, once you go there, it's just about recovery. It's about finding a new way of life, a new way of health, a new way of thinking. And when you do that, you know what you do? You elevate everything. Take a listen.
I was admitted to the Healdsburg Hospital. I stopped breathing. My blood alcohol was like a 0.53. What Elevate provided me, a completely different direction in my life.
Wow. So why do you think Elevate works so well for Amanda?
Elevate's a goal-based program. It's not just a time-based program. So a lot of programs are 28 days or they're 30 days. So you're kind of watching the clock. You're like, okay, I've got 14 days. I've got 13 days. Well, you know, that puts something in your head that you just got to ride it out. You know, you got to wait the time out, almost like jail, right? You got to wait till you're out of prison.
Would you say being in Elevate is a nurturing, healthy, fun environment, even though you're going through all of what you're going through?
Absolutely. We hear it every single graduation. This is the first place I feel like I can actually be myself. I can let down my guard.
Right. You know what we hear a lot? I've never laughed so hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's so nice to laugh again. It's so nice to be fun sober. And they just thought, I thought it was going to be miserable. You know, I thought life was going to be terrible sober. I've never laughed so hard.
My goal is that you pick up the phone, is that you reach out to Elevate, you get help. And yeah, some days it's hard, but I want you to go, hey, I need help. In whatever way it is, I believe that Dan and Angie have an amazing solution. You need to find out about it.
If you or a loved one are struggling with an addiction issue, the place to call is Elevate. It's a new method of treating people using a modern, scientific, and copyrighted approach.
Ultimately, it was the best thing I could have ever done.
Our program has highly successful results, verified by a third-party outcome study. Every day, people are getting their life back. Dial pound 250 on your cell and use the keyword free book now.
The fitness regime here and the incorporation of daily exercise, I could say it changed my life.
A holistic residential program, followed by outpatient services and follow-up to keep you doing well. No one will judge you at Elevate. We are here to empower you.
Things do get better because they see that we're living it and that it's possible.
It takes a lot to ask for help. We know. Even if you've tried rehab, you have never experienced Elevate.
Never give up. Never lose hope. Keep looking. Even if you had failed attempts at other places, I would say never give up on your loved ones.
Dial pound 250 on your cell and use the keyword free book, and you will be connected to one of our friendly staff who will send you your free book.
You know, there's a funny thing about addicts or being addicted. They look like you and me, don't they?
Right.
Until it's too late. You have an example of a very, I mean, when I looked at him, I'm like, wow, you look great. But he was on the streets. We're talking about Brandon. Tell me something about him.
You know, these people are good people. They just had a problem. And when you beat that addiction, the beautiful person comes out.
Let's take a look at Brandon.
If it wasn't for Elevate, I would be still probably out on the streets trying to figure stuff out. I was stealing from my parents. I was stealing from friends. I lost a lot of friends. Now I talk to my parents again every day. I still go home and visit, and it's like, you know, my friends are happy. My family's happy for me to be back, when it used to be like, oh, let's not invite them to this family event, you know?
And so do you offer support when you're on the other side?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Continuing care is huge for us.
So your goal with this whole thing is what?
People are confused, they're lost, they're stressed out, life is hard, right? Especially these young people growing up with social media and things like that. They have all these things, all this pressure on their life. And we just want them to know that it's okay for them to be who they are. And we want to help rehabilitate who they are, and so that they can go live that life, whatever it is. You know, it doesn't mean they have to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. They can be whoever they are. And when they embrace that and we help foster that, they do really, really well.
And that's the cool thing about recovery. You don't necessarily know what it is that they need, but you provide a safe, beautiful space for it called Elevate. And so, Dan, you wrote this book. It's a common sense guide to America's biggest problem.
Right.
And so what was the purpose of writing the book for you?
Honestly, it was frustration. Seeing how much money was going out to try to help the problem and nothing really being done about it, and society getting worse. It was knowing that almost all rehab programs in America don't track their outcomes, don't even measure their success rate.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
That would be the whole point of it.
Right. Yeah. They don't measure their success rate.
Why should they pick up the phone right now?
Well, if they don't, it could be too late. With fentanyl right now on the rise, people could be dead in a moment.
Do you lose them because they're addicted, or because what's out there right now on the streets is so freaking deadly?
Right. It's never been deadlier. You know, if you realize how little it takes to overdose on fentanyl, you could put powder on the tip of your pinky, and that is enough to overdose. In fact, I'm going to show you a picture right now to illustrate this fact.
All right, take a look at this. Oh, you're kidding me. And if someone's using and you're looking at this right now, I think you need to look at the hearts of the two people I'm looking at. And I've known you for a while, Angie, and I don't think until today's show I realized how important what you do really is. I want you to meet my guest, a dear friend of mine and TV producer, Mr. Sean Cook. How are you, my darling? And
I'm doing much better than I was a year and a half ago, let me tell you what.
Because what happened a year and a half ago?
My son died. My eldest son died. I have 6 kids, now I only have 5.
How did it happen?
Fentanyl. Straight up.
Okay, was he an addict?
He was using drugs.
Okay.
But the toxology came back like 3 months later.
Right.
We thought it was sleep apnea, a condition of sleep apnea initially. For some reason, it took 3 months for the toxicology to come back. And it was fentanyl. But in interviewing the other people that were there who had been taking cocaine, none of those people died. He was the only one that died out of the group of 5 kids that they were partying with. And he's the only one that did ecstasy. So I'm having to assume that it was fentanyl in ecstasy.
It's not just about addiction. How about it's just recreational drug use in today's culture? Okay? Can we say that that's rampant among people? Yes?
I think it has been. I just think that today it's a completely different story. And, you know, hindsight's 20/20.
Well, speaking of that, because this is for you. Your mom, dad, you're listening, you've got kids. Sit down and listen to this. What was he like as a son, as a person?
He was very difficult, and God bless his soul. He only really cared about people. You know, that's the sad thing. It's like, okay, so we're dealing with, you know, the COVID epidemic, right?
Right.
1 million people have died. I'm really sorry that 1 million people died. My father-in-law died. I know a lot of people who died of COVID. That, unfortunately, is unavoidable, right?
Right.
These deaths are avoidable. They don't have to happen.
Well, okay, let's unpack this for a second. So you're talking about a beautiful boy,
yeah,
who recreationally used drugs. Correct. With 5 or so people that night, right?
Correct.
Hey, Angie, Dan, can I have you guys come into the set for a second? I want you to sit, scoot over just a little bit, because these two people are on a mission that nobody ever suffers the way that you're suffering. Guys, at home, you need to understand how real and raw this show is, what we're doing, why we're all here. And go ahead.
My son went through rehab. He got thrown out of every sober house he was in because he never got it. He never got that it's about him. It's about him making the decision. And people at home, you need to realize that you can't make people do this. They've got to want to do it themselves, right?
Yes. But we can get them to that point of wanting to do it. A lot of times they don't want to because they don't know there's effective treatment.
And I mean, I know what it's like to lose a son. And what you guys are doing is trying to stop that happening. So I have a huge amount of respect for both of you.
Dan, what do you want to say?
My heart breaks for you. And this is why we get up and do what we do every day. And that motivates me to continue to do this.
Would you have picked up the phone and called Elevate?
No. I would have given Ian the phone number and I said, you call Elevate.
Look at Dan's face right now. Is
Yeah.
that what you guys do at Elevate?
Absolutely. And these guys have been through it. My staff have been through it. And they would say to
Your
your
staff
son,
are recovering addicts.
That's right.
Because they know how to talk to someone like his son.
They would have said, hey, bro, let me tell you my story. Let me tell you how messed up I was, right? And then they would be able to relate. And he would know he was not alone. And he would know that he isn't the only one that disappointed his father or his family.
I get it. I am so sorry for what you've gone through, but I often say that life happens for us, not to us.
So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I think you're an amazing woman, and you've got heart and compassion, and I can see the tears in your eyes. And we don't want anybody else to die unnecessarily, right?
No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to lose our families. We don't want to do what addicts do to each other, how they destroy families.
Yep.
And again, I've known Angie for a long time. This is so powerful. Look at Dan over here. You guys, these are tears of actual joy that we're doing this now for people. They're all so sad. You trust me on this. Pick up the phone. You want to meet someone on the other end from Elevate.
If you or a loved one are struggling with an addiction issue, the place to call is Elevate. It's a new method of treating people using a modern, scientific, and copyrighted approach.
Ultimately, it was the best thing I could have ever done.
Our program has highly successful results, verified by a third-party outcome study. Every day, people are getting their life back. Dial pound 250 on your cell and use the keyword free book now.
The fitness regime here and the incorporation of daily exercise, I could say it changed my life.
A holistic residential program, followed by outpatient services and follow-up to keep you doing well. No one will judge you at Elevate. We are here to empower you.
Things do get better because they see that we're living it and that it's possible.
It takes a lot to ask for help. We know. Even if you've tried rehab, you have never experienced Elevate.
Never give up. Never lose hope. Keep looking. Even if you had failed attempts at other places, I would say never give up on your loved ones.
Dial pound 250 on your cell and use the keyword free book, and you will be connected to one of our friendly staff who will send you your free book.
Hey everybody, welcome back. When I started the show, I said this is one of the most important shows that I've ever done. Addiction affects everybody around you, not only just you, people you work with, people you love. And if you take it too far, it's deadly. And just understand that 3 words can save your life and someone you love. I need